Alright, in this second section, what we're going to do is we're going to write our first Java program and check output. So we discussed all about the JVM and all. We'll see how it works. We'll also look at using this basic system util class, which is printing output. We'll see how to add comments. We'll look at the primitive data types. A lot of logical operators are there, assignment operators, control statements, and looping statements. So let's get started. So let's write our first Java application. Now look at this. This is how a class is written. So this basically say welcome to Java. So you say public class name, and then you say public static void main, and you have a string array called args, and then you say system.out.println, and all of these are in curly braces. So let's understand. The first thing that you need to understand is every program in Java has to be written as a class. Understood? Any program that you want to write has to be inside a class, and if you want to execute, it has to have an entry point called as main. Okay, so we'll see this. And now how to execute this? We'll say Java compile the Java file and then run Java. Okay, so let's do this. So the compilation and execution, before we do that, is a two-step. During compilation, Java compiles the source code, generates bytecode. The intermediate bytecode is saved in the form of a class file. And the JVM also called the Java to take the dot class as an input and generate the output. Basically, it takes your Java file, creates a dot class bytecode. JVM runs this class file on that particular OS. Okay, so that makes it platform independent. So let's see. So I'm going to take this script from here, and we'll build our first Java file. So what we will do here is we'll go over here and we will say we have already Java folder there. We'll create a folder called as Java code. Okay, and this is where we are going to write all our code. So we go back to our thing here, and here we will do one thing is request something called as main workspace. So here I'll say file, switch workspace, and I'll select the folder that I have created, because I don't want to write anywhere and anyhow. So let me see this. Let me navigate here. Yeah, this Java code folder, and now it is going to launch. So it just restarts. So what am I doing is I'm setting a workspace. The workspace is the folder where you will keep all your program files in there. Okay. So this opens this way. So this gives you like a couple of, you want to create a project. There are tutorials over here. What we'll do is create a new Java project and call it welcome. So what it does is it creates a project over here, and it gives you a couple of jar files. If you see here, it will create a jar files which are required for you. And now in the source folder, click on this no folder to add my file. Yeah, so if you see here, it has already created this welcome. So first I created a Java project, called it welcome, and I also said include this, so it also puts it within a default package. So now what we'll do here is let's save this and let's navigate to that folder. Okay, so instead of going from the DOS prompt, you can do one thing. There is something called as terminal here. So what you guys have to do is press Ctrl Alt T. Okay, so what you guys have to do, terminal window which you see here. Now if you see this terminal, you can navigate to the folders that you have created. And here we have the folder. So now if you see here, there is a welcome project here all created inside this, and within this there is a src where all our code is there, right? So this is the same structure that we have, and we have seen we have to first run the Java compiler to create the class file, right? And then run the Java program. Come here and say Java C. You will see your welcome.java, and here you will say Java C. So now what you'll do, let's see what it has done. Now if you see here, we were talking about that bytecode, right? this welcome.class has got generated. So our JVM has created this welcome.class. Now this welcome.class you can run using Java. So if you see, it has printed welcome to Java. Can you see this? So first what we did is we generated the bytecode in the form of welcome.class, and then we ran the file Java welcome. Okay. So it will pick up this class. If you are not finding Java and all this, that is because it could be a problem with your path. So you have to go back to the previous video where the environment setups were there. Okay. Now how to see the Java version? You can say Java minus version. So here if I have the JDK version is 1.8. So please run this command and see that you run this file. Look at the class that we have created. So we have public static void main. Now what happens here is, this is the method, right? This is the entry point of the program. If you don't give main, your program will not run. And let's look at this public static void main, etc. Okay, the public is an access specifier which says, whether it is public. That means the application can be read anywhere in the org. Static is another access modifier. You can create a static and a non-static method. Main should always be static. Void is the return type. This method does not return any value. This method takes a parameter but does not return value. And main is the starting point of is a reserved word, okay? The starting point of your program. And string args is the parameter of the main method. This part we will see later, okay? So any argument that you pass will get passed to this string array. So let's take a look here. Now let's go back to the code and we will also look at the arguments. So if you see here, this is the public class. And you should always indent your code, okay? The class should be there inside, and then you should always keep your, so this is public static void main. This is the entry point of the program. So now if you want to see what args are coming in, so this is something if you pass at the, at the command line, if you pass any arguments, this can be accessed over here. And they can be accessed using index of an array. What is an array and all we'll see later, but right now we'll just see what is the value that is entered. So now if I give index, so if you see here, it executes this welcome to Java and says entered value is I. So this args is basically an index, like each of this value that you enter after the class name. After the class name will be as index. Hi, there, all of them will be in particular index, okay? So this is how input parameters are managed over here. So if you look here, revisit, the public is the access modifier, static is a keyword, return type, this method doesn't return any value, and main, method name, and string class, what are the array string of objects input. Now if you want to add any comments, the comments you can either give double slash or a single star. This is for multiple line comment. So when the compiler sees this double, it will ignore all the text after that. So let's see this. And if it sees that slash star, it will wait for the next slash star and ignores any text between that. So if I go here and now if I say slash slash, see this line has become green. Now let me run this, save it, run this. So it says welcome to Java. So now I'm going to, what you can do is, as I told you, you don't have to always do this Java C, Java and all that. Okay, so this ID, once you run this, it will run automatically. Now if you see here, this line is commented out. If I uncomment this line, so yeah, so now right now I have not given any parameters, so it's always going to crypt. Okay, so if I say entered value and remove this args here, oh sorry, let me say now if I want to run this, let me just save it again, and now with this configuration, so let me introduce some values here. Arguments will be hi there and run, so it shows hi, right? Now because I removed the slash slash. Now suppose I do this one, okay, slash star, and then I give the slash star at the end of this star slash and run this. So now if you see there is no output, that's because this is a multi-line comment. Okay, So now if I remove this, it's going to work. Okay. Now where is this value? There is something called as run configuration. Now if you want to pass any args here, you can use this run configuration, go to these arguments, and you can pass any values that you want. Right now the others are already set. Here I'm just passing either. Okay. Let's look at data types. Now data types basically is like any variable. Your program will create variable, and in that variable you will store some value, right? Either you store number, string, so there are various data types. There are 8 primitive data types in Java. First is byte, short, int, long, char, float, double, boolean. This is the internal size of it in memory. Okay, the default value is 0 for all of this. So now let's look at this program here. Now in this second program, what is happening is we are having a method, and it is having a main method, and see first int x. There is a problem in this line. We say int x equal to 90. So if you see this line, so if you see int x equal to 90, short y equal to 4, data types, variables are being declared. So x is a variable of type int, y is variable of type short, float is type z. Float allows you to add if you want to add decimal places, you can add it, string name, value. And then if you say system.out.println, you will say integer value is x, will print the value of x, y, z. So let's see the values of, basically this is how you define the variable. You will say data type, the variable name, and the value you want to assign to it. So let's take this. And since we already have a program here, I will create a new project. Call it second. Here I'll say second, and I want this public static. So what this does is, instead of typing it, this will generate the template for you. Can you see that? Yeah. So now I'm going to have my code here. I'll take this code from here to shorten the time. We create the variables. We generate the variables here, int x, short y, z, and we are printing this. And system.out. Now where is this system.out? It is an inbuilt library. Okay, so Java will give you this inbuilt library along with when you run this class. If you want any other imports, then you'll have to add those imports. So now I'm going to run this program. So let's see, int x, short, we have defined this, and then I say integer value, short value. Okay, save it and run. So if you see here, it has printed value is 90, short value is 4, float value is 10, and the string value is 30. So what I did here, I gave the data type, variable name, and value. Data type, variable name, and value. And then if I want to print it, I just give the value name of the variable. Please practice this, and then we can proceed to the next one. Just to do a quick review is, basically this is the explanation of the code. The line 3 and 6 we are declaring and initializing the value. This is called initializing. Okay, this we are declaring the variable and initializing it. Next what we'll do is look at operators. Operators are symbols which are used in expressions. They include, there can be arithmetic operators, there can be assignment operators, increment and decrement. There can be logical operators, bitwise operators, and comparison operators. Okay. Let's take a look at this. If you see here, so if you look at the arithmetic operators, if you look at the arithmetic operators, those are the basic that you see in any calculator, like addition, subtraction, multiples. Modulus is the remainder of division. Then you have addition, assignment. If you say x plus 1, you don't need to do that. You can say x plus equal to, okay. That will get it. So minus, subtraction, assignment, multiplication, assignment, division. Then there are increment operators. If you want to say x equal to x plus 1, you can say x plus plus or x minus minus. It is the same thing. So let's look at this example of each. So here we have initialize 3 variables, x, y is float, x plus y, z minus y, multiplication is the third line, x into y. Then we divide, and then there is a modulus operation. Let us see both. So now I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the script here, and I'm going to build one more project here. Call it third. Build it fast here, and we want to create a new, of course. We want to create what? New class, right? So basically a class can also not have a main. You can have a class which is not mandatory. So see here. So here I'll type the public. I'll paste that code here. See this public static void main. I will paste it here. Okay. So here I define variable, and I'm going to do an addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So save it and run it. So here you see 10 plus 20, 30, z minus y is giving you that 5.97. That is because float, z is a float. Okay. See this. You have to define f. Okay. And then x equal to y with obviously 200. Then z divided by the float will give you the floating point. Floating point is the decimal. Then modulus z percentage y. Next, let's look at assignment operators. As I told you, assignment operators are used in C, C++, are also used in Java. A selection of assignment operators are given here. So let's look at the code here. So here you see int a, 1, b, c, and now see what happens here. Now if you are, instead of saying a plus 5, you can say a plus equal to 5. So now the a will get assigned a equal to a plus 5. Instead of that, you can say a plus 5. Then b equal to b into 4. Similarly, c is equal to a into b. Now if you say c plus, so what happens in the fourth line? Please pay attention. C plus a into b. So it will get added to that and get assigned to c. Okay. So this will get assigned back to the variable. So let's look at this. Now what we'll do here is we can create another class project here under public void static void assign. So we can create a method like this. See what I'm doing here is, instead of, so to run this example, what I'll do here is I'm going to write this method public static void assign and call this method from here. Okay, and so now I'm going to give a multi-line command. So we already seen this part, no? So we want to see only the other assignment part. So now see the multi-line is assigned, and I'm calling this method from main. So let's run this. So if you see a equal to 6, b equal to 8, why is that? A equal to 6 because a plus 5. So here, even though you are not specified 1, it automatically increments it by 1 and adds it. B star 4 is 2 into 4 and assigns it to b. Okay. C is plus a into b is 6 plus 1, 7. And again it is like now C 6, 7. This last one is getting assigned again. So if you see here, A is 6, B is 8. And here basically what is happening is 7. Alright, so please, so what basic thing over here is, I have called this method from assign. So I can call it like, I can create a method. It's a very simple way. Public static void, it doesn't return any value, it is type static. So more detail about the static and all we'll see later. Right now it is to understand this assignment operators. Now let's also look at increment and decrementing operators. So you can do the plus plus. Decrement can be prefixed or postfixed. Okay, a pre-increment is by and then use the new value. Post use the current value of in the exponent which is and then it is incremented by 1. So there is a pre-increment and a post-increment. You can do plus plus a or a plus plus. So first the value will increment and then the new value will be assigned to the variable and then. But if you do a plus plus, whatever values there will remain and then it will get incremented. Okay. So let's take a look here. Similarly, I'll write another method here. Let's call it increment and decrement, and I'll call it increment decrement. Okay. So I have this, and we're going to type this now. So we can see the values here. Suppose we give b 10, and again we got to do a increment. We'll do a before b and we'll do a minus minus. I hope you're all following. So we're going to copy this over here first. Then we will see over here. And these three can go out. Save it and run it. Oh, that's because now we have to call this method, right? This increment decrement is not being called. Assign is being called. So what we'll do, we'll comment out this one also. And we will call increment decrement. How do you call a method? You say curly braces. You put the brackets after it. Okay. You save it and run this. So now you get a different set of values. First is, let's see. First was 2. Then it has incremented. Let's also add this value. So then later on it decrements. We can do one thing. We can also say next what we are going to do here is we will be looking at logical operators. Okay. So please practice all of this and then we will continue.